Yo, what's going on, everybody? I'm sounding real nasally, so I'm gonna keep this live relatively short. I'm Marcus, the debt-free dad, also known as DFD. I'm a licensed attorney in a few jurisdictions, not your legal counsel, not legal financial advice, any of that stuff. Just on here for infotainment purposes as I give my opinion on takes and topics. And occasionally I give y'all a peek inside what we doing over here on the finance side of the game. And I always got to throw that disclaimer out there. Shout out to everybody who is a member of the channel, all the subscribers, everybody who watched the content. I will two things pinned in the comment. I have a video on the DC council member who was charged with federal bribery charges. And if you also shoot over to my guy, shout out Pocket Watching with JT. He and I did a live on that topic over on his channel last night. It was good. It was informative. Of course, it was entertaining. So y'all make sure y'all check out my video pinned in the comment and shoot over to the Pocket Watcher channel. Check out the live stream that we did yesterday as well. Enrique, what's good, brother? I appreciate you. First comment of the day. Now, this video is I'm gonna keep this short. We're gonna rewind back to some footage from this week. I'm gonna go ahead and let it play through because your boy sinuses is a little bit bothering him. But we're gonna break it down. Somebody left a comment to a video I did earlier in the week, essentially saying, yo, you forgot to talk about the conflict of interest. So I'm going to dive into the conflict of interest. We're going to watch that portion of the video, and I'm going to actually break down some of the rules of professional conduct, actually pull them up and look at them. One of the jobs as an attorney is to have an answer. At work, I got to do that 99.7% of the time. Here, I'm going to give about 50% effort. So I'm not going to dive all the way in because there are a few questions, but I am going to give y'all some granularity, some information so y'all can help determine if it is a conflict or if it isn't. One of the great things about being an attorney, the answer that you're probably going to get most times if you ask any attorney a question is, it depends. Each circumstance, in fact, is different. So if you want, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button. If you get some value out of this video, definitely interact. Let's go ahead and cue up the video from the Thornton Township board meeting that occurred earlier in the week. Then we're going to jump into the rules of professional conduct. Shout out Beverly, shout out. So let's go ahead, cue this video up. I might move my video because I'm gonna be in here drinking all sorts of electrolytes and stuff.
Let me try something new. This is how I know that you guys don't know how to run a business and don't know about leadership. Leadership don't work as it relates to a credit card. I'm not going to no stuff for nobody. So make it make sense. This is a joke. Leadership is you get into the manager and they run a department.
Real quick, you can look at that board and quickly identify who the attorney is. Is the brother sitting there next to Tiffany Henyard, who just kind of staring with deer eyes in the audience.
Leadership is not you add my name on the card, and I'm telling you I do not want it. That makes no sense. And I'm asking you guys to remove me from this ordinance. And I'm telling you, hold on. And I'm telling you I don't want this. I don't want this. I'm telling you that. So remove me from it. I'm just telling y'all, I pleaded enough with y'all. I've asked y'all enough for this. So I'm going to let it be what it be because I already told you I'm not taking it. I don't want it. And I think you should remove supervisor out of this ordinance that you guys created. Ain't nothing you can do about it.
Here we go. We're about to hit it up right now.
All right, call the roll. And just for the record, for the 18th time, I don't want anything to do with a credit card. I already told people that. So thank you. All right, go ahead.
Trustee Carlisle. Trustee Jones. Trustee Gonzalez.
Yes.
Trustee Gray Everett. Supervisor Henyard.
Definitely not.
Motion passed.
So next on the agenda, is there a motion to approve the retainer agreements with LDC as to represent the Thornton Township and Thornton Township officials in the case? Lawrence versus Thornton Township, Thrash versus Thornton Township, Dukes versus Thornton Township. Is there a motion? Do y'all want a motion for legal? So move, second. Is there a motion and second?
I have discussion, please.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so, I know that, you selected this attorney for these cases, but, it came to my attention that this attorney represents you in a personal matter. So I wanna know, I just wanna know, is that a conflict of interest?
So first of all, I didn't necessarily, pick the attorney. He do represent myself, Keith Freeman, and other people as well is represented by this law firm. So we had to put it on here so that the person can go and represent us here at the township. So he don't just represent Tiffany Henyard, he represents everybody that they name. Anybody that got named is in here. So for us to see and go back and forth over legal help, the whole thing is to protect the township. That's what the township.
Okay, just the question was, is it a conflict of interest? That's my question.
No, you don't have to conflict of interest. That's what it is.
Attorney, can you, is that a conflict of interest?
Rule number one: never answer a question until you had a chance to do your due diligence.
Well, I will strike your champ.
People's opinion won't conflict of interest.
You gotta turn your mic.
Good thing he don't got no mic. I'm interested in what he's saying. Man, you better not talk on that mic. That'd be wild. He not stupid. I give him that.
Choose compassion. Please put the house rules in the chat.
Oh, you got something? Go ahead.
One thing I want to say is that, the Derek Auto Law Firm did look over each retainer agreement. They did look over it and make sure it was in compliance with state law. They did, not Attorney Eric, but other people I just want.
But, yeah, were they aware of the other part?
Conflict of interest?
Table until you get a written legal
No, I can't speak to that.
So the board of trustees.
Definitely gonna read that super chat for me.
Out here without legal representation, you guys, what do you want to do? What do you want to do, guys? What do you guys want to do? You guys?
Motion to table.
So you want to table it to win? But this is what I'm talking about. Why did y'all had questions, like seriously, y'all don't, seriously. If you had questions or concerns about this, why did y'all reach out to anybody? Y'all call the lawyers to draw up ordinances. Why didn't y'all ask the lawyers about legal opinion? Why would we get here and y'all don't even know what deadline is this currently right now? If we have to go to court this week, y'all don't know any of that. And that's stuff you shouldn't play with. I just want to play with that. It's to represent Thornton Township. Thornton Township. Our job is to protect the township. All the personal stuff y'all gotta put to the side. Y'all have to do that. I would not leave without his driver's license. So would y'all like to approve this individual for the case?
I have a question, so is there any way the attorney can advise if there's time sensitive matters, or do you know the answer to that question?
I don't know when it's due. I know it is a deadline on it. When they give you papers, there's a deadline on it. Well, it was a deadline way a week ago, but y'all had it on y'all special meeting. So I know, but y'all ain't getting it. So we didn't put it on the tweet. So here we go.
I would, I think I would second the table, and we can come back maybe in 2 days,
Well, just so y'all know, like the other one, y'all just keep popping up meetings, like people don't have personal lives. This is our second meeting. I had a special meeting, 4 days ago, now we had a regular meeting. There's no, why would we table something that's, got to do with Thornton Township? The whole thing is to protect Thornton Township. Y'all too busy making it about Tiffany and not protecting Thornton Township, when that person basically covers everybody. I'm not the only individual. It covers every single person. And as Robert Hunt just told y'all, what he said? Delgado have looked over this already. If Delgado looked over it already, what are we doing? He looked over it. So it would be on the agenda. So what would y'all like to do? So y'all just want to table. So y'all don't care whatever legal stuff we got going on. It is because if y'all care or y'all saw the agenda, y'all could call and ask questions about stuff. That's what I'm talking about. We get to board meetings every single time. We don't have no bill. Then I got a question. The question got up before we got here. When you go watch other people's board meetings,
She's actually very good at arguing.
Right now, if you have information.
of course, why would I have information? You ask the lawyer.
Not like arguing a legitimate argument, but like being loud.
Why you don't have it? Why you don't have it? Because I don't know.
Value in
Right
that.
now. I don't know the date. It's for a lawyer to protect the township.
So when are the deadlines?
So if you wanted to know that, y'all should have asked before we got here, and y'all didn't.
Tell us right
Y'all
now.
get here and we didn't.
Discuss. Tell us right now.
He said there's no easy way to find it out right at this moment. So, all right, motion to second. Y'all have been so wrong. So wrong.
Trustee Jones? Trustee Carlisle? Trustee Gonzalez?
Yes.
Trustee Gray Everett?
She said no, and I said no.
Supervisor Henyard?
Our job as a board is to protect the township, guys. No matter what people feel about someone, what someone's opinion is, you always protect the house. But anyway, next on the agenda is.
All right. That's hilarious. That's wild. All right, let's go ahead and close that out. And let me go and hit up some of these comments real quick. Shout out to the first super chat of the day. I definitely appreciate that. Debt free, hope you're having a great day. I'm definitely doing good, man. I appreciate you. A little allergies kicking my butt a little bit, but outside of that, I'm blessed. I definitely appreciate that. Let's go through some of the comments, then we're going to jump in. Let me actually pull up this document first, so I'm not scrambling the last minute, because I know people going to be like, hurry up, man. You taking too long, bro. You taking too long. All right, we're not going through all of this because it's just a lot. So we're not going to look at all of that, but we are going to look at some of that. We aren't going to look at all of it, but we are going to look at some of it. Let me go and hit the comments up real quick. See what's good. When did people stop, Beverly, when did people stop trusting their eyes and ears? It's time to break out of the matrix of mainstream media and Democratic Party. And I just had a conversation today, and I said, I think 60% of people just do what, I don't know, whoever is in power, whether it's a politician, entertainer, tells them to do. 20% of people wait to see what those 60 are going to do, then they do. Then you got like 10% of the people who really like take their time to make an informed decision when it comes to things to do. It just seems like Tiffany is trying to avoid attorney fees, and she even says she doesn't listen to them. So that's been the whole problem. I agree. Normally what the play would be in this situation is to try to get personal attorney services paid for with money of the government or somebody else, some other third party. I'm not saying that's what she's doing, but that's normally the play when you see things where there's a really thin line between representation and who's doing what. people get a little janky because they want to try to get their services paid through another means that they may have access to. She won't share her mic. That's actually smart. And shout out to the attorney in that video. Hey, he was smart. The attorney is not there to answer the questions of the people. I used to always like when I would have a jury trial and I'm cross-examining somebody, and occasionally people would like try to ask me questions as I'm asking them questions. And I would be like, no, I ask the questions, you answer them. That's how this process works. Talk to him, Your Honor. It was wild. Smack that like button. Definitely, she definitely needs to be put in jail. I know I had a poll question of y'all think she's gonna be put in jail 2024. You think she's gonna be criminally charged in 2024, in 2025 after the election, or never? Like 13% of the people was like, she never gonna be charged. Maybe she'll run for mayor in prison. Hey, depending on the rules and what she's charged with and convicted of, it may not be something that'll bar. Yeah. It's crazy. She said, put y'all personal stuff to the side when all those cases are against her, essentially. Right, right. A lot of the litigation stems from her. Yeah. Shout out to everybody who joined in the chat. Let's see. They need to get rid of the Delgado law firm to fix the corruption. I don't really know enough to say what's corruption. I will say it's some interesting things going on, but I don't know enough. Let's go ahead and dive into this document. In the video I did earlier this week, I talked a little bit about conflict of interest, and typically you can waive a conflict of interest. If I have a conflict between a couple of parties, I can get a waiver and still do what I need to do. But I thought most times the rules of professional conduct are kind of the same. The ABA has rules. Then state bar associations kind of model their rules after the overall overarching bar association. So generally, most of the rules are the same. But I was like, you know what? Let me take a cursory look at Illinois, and I saw some things that were pretty interesting. Let's go ahead and cue it up. Oh no, let me see. Let's add that. Let's go ahead and cue it up. I'm gonna make that small because y'all don't really. I mean, if y'all want to really read it, y'all can, but there's really no need to dive super into the document. Just give me 1 second because I'm doing this one a little bit different. Okay, let's go ahead and dive in. Rule 1.7: conflicts of interest for current clients. They always write like that, except for provided in subsection B. Then you got to scroll down and see what subsection B say, then scroll back up and read it. They just want to make it complicated. Except is provided in paragraph B, a lawyer shall not represent a client if the representation involves a concurrent conflict of interest. A concurrent conflict of interest exists if 1, the representation of one client will be directly adverse to another, or there is a significant risk that the representation of one or more clients will be materially limited by the lawyer's responsibility to another client, a former client, or a third person, or by personal interest of the lawyer. Notwithstanding the existence of a concurrent conflict of interest under paragraph A, which is what we just read, a lawyer may represent a client if 1, the lawyer reasonably believes that the lawyer will be able to provide competent and diligent representation to each affected client of the conflict. 2, the representation is not prohibited by law. 3, the representation does not involve an assertion of a claim by one client against another client represented by the lawyer in the same litigation or proceeding before a tribunal, and the affected client gives informed consent. All right, let me back up to 3. 3 is an interesting one because we're going to see that one pop up in some of the highlighted sections. So, long story short, conflict of interest occur when there's a risk. It may be some impartiality. The lawyer's interest or who he's representing may pose some type of gray line that could be crossed. However, you can represent them if all of these things, 1 through 3 at the bottom, you need all of them to go and represent the client. The lawyer got to believe he can still do his job even in the presence of this conflict, and the representation is not prohibited by law. there are some statutes out there that expressly say if you have this type of conflict, you can't represent the client. And 3 is going to show us one of those. The representation does not involve an assertion by a claim of one client against another client by the lawyer in the same litigation or proceeding before a tribunal. Okay, essentially what 3 means is it can't be the exact same litigation. So the answer to the question of is that a conflict of interest? The real answer is we don't know, because we would have to know, I would have to know, they would have to understand what is the specific litigation. But prong number 3 is talking about if it's client A versus client B, that's a direct conflict of interest and it can't be waived out. You can't make everybody sign and say, hey, I'm going to represent them on the defense side of the game and I'm going to represent the plaintiff on the other side of the game. So that's one where it's expressly. So in this scenario, let's say Henyard hires law firm A. Sometime down the road, the township of Thornton files and Henyard hires law firm A. She sets a motion for law firm A, and it doesn't matter who the attorney is in the law firm. The conflict of interest is imputed on the whole law firm. So if I work in the firm and I got a conflict, everybody in the firm got a conflict. That's kind of how it goes. But she hires law firm A. Law firm A is also hired to represent the township. The township files a lawsuit for, I don't know, what is conversion of property, because Tiffany Henyard converted the township's property for her own personal use. In that situation right there, she's the defendant. The township is the plaintiff. The lawyers representing them both. You can't waive your way out of it. Even if you got the signatures of everybody involved, that's expressly prohibited by law. So now I want to go down to, see, this is a little weird. I'm sharing this a little bit. I'm sharing this a little bit differently. But now I want to go down to it and read this next thing. General principles. Resolution of a conflict of interest problem under this rule requires a lawyer to, 1, clearly identify the client or clients. So this is all the stuff the lawyers have to do before they make a determination of if they have a conflict, and is it a conflict where I can get informed consent and waive and still get the money from both of these people. First thing, clearly identify the client or the clients. Determine whether the conflict of interest exists. 3, decide whether representation may be undertaken despite the existence of a conflict. An example, whether the conflict is consentable. And 4, consult the clients affected under paragraph A and obtain their informed consent. The clients affected under paragraph A, including both the clients referred to, blah, 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 one or more clients, representation may be limited, materially limited. A conflict of interest may exist before representation is undertaken. In the event, the representation must be declined unless the lawyer obtains the informed consent of each client under the conditions of paragraph B. If a conflict arises after representation has been undertaken, the lawyer ordinarily must withdraw from the representation unless the lawyer has obtained informed consent of the client under the conditions of paragraph B. The bottom line is, I'm gonna just keep it a buck with y'all. Attorneys make laws, and attorneys are attorneys generally, not all the time, but a lot of times people in your local state legislature and the federal government are attorneys. Attorneys are always going to have a provision in there so they could get that bag. Like, hey, I'm just keeping a buck with y'all. So informed consent expressly trumps most conflicts of interest unless it's the township is suing Henyard and they both have the same attorney. Then you can't get a consent of each side to say represent, because it wouldn't make any sense. It would be an absolute shit show. Let me go ahead and turn to some of these comments real quick because I don't want them to get too far. Let's see. Are conflicts of interest illegal or just unethical? How could I put this? That's a really good question. typically a conflict of interest is unethical, but then it turns into something that's illegal. And I'll give you a prime example. If we had scenario that that can't happen, the one scenario we know can't happen. Henyard hires the Delgado law firm, for example. Township has Delgado law firm. Township sues Henyard. Henyard's like, yo, I want to do a waiver. Both parties signed a waiver and they're acting in court. That's clearly unethical. It's not going to fly. You're going to be talking about actually a claim for unauthorized practice of law because you can't really, well, not unauthorized practice of law, is probably going to be ineffective assistance of counsel because you can't effectively represent their interests. Normally, it's an ethics thing, but once the money start going from the trust account to the attorney's bank account, now you may have some legal issues that may fall in the criminal realm. And just so y'all know how attorneys get paid, this is how y'all probably know. But normally, if it's an attorney who got like, like you got an interesting commercial that come on like 3 a.m. after wrestling, they probably doing like hit and run cases. They just get like a third of the settlement. If they go to trial, is 45%. For something like this, where we know the attorney fees going back and forth, because I did a video talking about how firms weren't getting paid and one firm is suing the other. Typically, what's your issue? You come in and tell me your issue. I look at the car you driving. I look at this issue. Is this an easy issue? Is this something where I actually got to do a lot of work? Is it probably going to go to trial? Are these facts good? I'm going to look at all of those factors and I'm going to say, you know what? My billable hour rate is, let's say, $500 an hour. I bill at $500 an hour, and normally firms bill in 15-minute increments. So, I did 15 minutes worth of work, 45 minutes worth of work. That's kind of how the billing works out. I'm going to ask for, hey, I need you to pay me some upfront money of, if I'm charging $500 an hour, let's say $20,000. You pay me $20,000. I take that $20,000. I put that $20,000 into my firm's trust account. And as I work on your case, today I worked 2 hours on this case. I did some research for an hour. Then I began drafting a motion. Then I can go to that trust account and pull out $1,000 because that's earned money. You can't touch the money when it's not earned. It has to sit in that trust account. But normally it's just an ethical thing, but it'll quickly spiral into something that could potentially be illegal. Let me see. But it's disingenuous to the residents to not let the attorney be heard. So the attorney is working for her and not the residents. Just like Dalton. Then she bills the taxpayers keeping her. Hey, I mean, I don't know. Like, I think it was smart. If I was the attorney, he actually did better than me. I wouldn't have said anything. Like, I take it from the images and from the optics of it. It looked like he was there representing Tiffany Henyard's interest, just from the overall demeanor of how he navigated or avoided questions, and just from his seating position. Normally, when you go to if you look at a township meeting or a board meeting or a council meeting, and the council has a council attorney or something like that, they kind of sit off in the side in the cut. They're not sitting directly near like the council chair or something like that. That's a little bit odd. So I do think that he was smart. I don't know what he said when he was talking, but I mean, personally, he shouldn't have said that. That's me. I'm not saying anything. If what it looks like is true, it looks like he was there representing her interest just on optics. We don't know, but that's what it's given watching the video. And if that's the case, I wouldn't have answered the damn question. I was like, I'm not here to answer y'all questions. That's not what I do. Shout out to my brother Wolverine, man. I appreciate you, bro. Yeah, what's going on, Gail at night? What's up, sis? All those cases are wrongful terminations, so it's the same thing for all those folks. Oh my God, I'm gonna throw this little dog away. I hate little dogs. I don't know. My daughter finessed me into getting him. If the attorney is representing Henyard, it is a conflict of interest if she is expecting the committee to pay. That's absolute fact. Well, yes, you can't misappropriate government funds, although payments can payments for representation can come from a third party. I had it all the time. I'd be representing person A, and their mother went and sold their car to pay the fees, and they like, hey, I'm paying you for my son's representation. You can do that, but in this instance, you are correct. Misappropriating those monies would be a big no-no. And let me go back to this document real quick because there's a couple other things I want to read, because I'm not really giving y'all an answer, but I'm giving y'all some things to I'm not really giving y'all an answer, but I'm giving y'all some things to consider. And there is something in here that talks about in some places, municipalities, government entities like townships and things may not be able to give informed consent, which would be a big deal, because if a township or municipality can't give informed consent, is no way the attorney can overcome the conflict, so he wouldn't be able to work in that conflict. All right, informed consent. All right, identifying conflict of interest directly adverse. All right, loyalty to a current client prohibits undertaking a representation directly adverse to the client without the client informed consent. Thus, absent consent, a lawyer may not act as an advocate in one matter against the person the lawyer represent in some other matter, even when the matter is wholly unrelated. That sound like it. We talked. It's the lawsuits that the township are going could potentially be unrelated to what Henyard personally has going, and they could be related. It's a nuanced thing where really to evaluate it, I would have to look at each complaint, like each complaint that was filed and all of the allegations or whatever Henyard is retaining this person for to make a determination. But that language right there could be applicable to this situation. The client as to whom the representation is directly adverse is likely to feel betrayed, and the resulting damage to the client-lawyer relationship is likely to impair the lawyer's ability to represent the client effectively. In addition, the client on whose behalf the adverse representation is undertaken reasonably may fear that the lawyer will pursue that client's case less effectively out of deference to the other client. I think that's hitting exactly on what most people are agreeing with, most people talking about. You can't maintain impartiality without screwing somebody over. That's what it boils down to. If DFD is representing Henyard and I'm representing the township and they have litigation that may intertwine, I can't represent one effectively without screwing over the other. And in that situation, if you do have a conflict like that, it's just something that's probably not going to fly. And the easiest way to really take care of it, if it's I don't know, like if there is an actual conflict of interest, the township needs to be aware that, something like this, all you have to do is really file a complaint with the local bar association. If they file a complaint with the bar association will actually do an inquiry to determine if wrongdoing was done, to determine if there was an ethics violation, to determine if it was an inappropriate conflict of interest that couldn't be waived by informed consent. And they can provide punishment to that lawyer, that law firm, to include sanctions, to include some written admonishment, to include a temporary suspension or something like that. Every time I get my lawyers, like when you're licensed in a state, every month you get like the weekly lawyer magazine. It's some real geeky shit that we read, like, updating trends, and they're updating rules of ethics and what high-speed attorneys are doing. As soon as I get it, I immediately go to the back, because that's where the bar association had issued all their decisions. And you go through there and be like, all right, I don't know nobody here. What'd he do? Oh, he misappropriated funds. Oh, he commingled funds. He took funds out of the trust account. So they do actually have a recourse where someone can look and identify whether or not this is an actual conflict. Whether it's a conflict generally is up to the attorney to decide. But if you have an attorney who may, and not saying this attorney is, but if you have an attorney who may be disingenuous and just trying to snatch the bags on both sides of the game, you do have some recourse where you're like, we need to see if this is a real conflict. I'm going to file a complaint with the bar association, and they actually have a team of attorneys and investigators who will look into this inquiry and make a determination on it. So that is an option that they would have at their disposal. Hey, what's going on, Alonzo, brother? I appreciate you tuning in, family. I appreciate you tuning in. Is the attorney there in a case the FBI turned up and arrest Tiffany? I mean, I'm sure that's why he's there. From his seating, from his juxtaposition at that meeting, he strikes me as in that exact moment, he is actually representing Tiffany Henyard. Let me go and pull this document back up real quick. We're about to get through it. It's almost done because your boy feeling a little nasally over here. All right, let's see. Where we at? Okay. And they provide an exact example of why that direct conflict of interest we talked about. Law firm A representing Henyard, law firm A representing Township. Township sues Henyard for something that she done, and they want their money back, and they want to get it directly from her. That's expressly banned. Even if the attorney gets Henyard's consent and the Township consent, he can't do it. And then they provide a great example why, which makes sense. Similarly, a directly adverse conflict may arise when a lawyer is required to cross-examine a client, who appears as a witness in a lawsuit involving another client, as when the testimony will be damaging to the client who is represented in the lawsuit. So you just can't do it. If in that situation, Henyard is called to the stand by the attorney at the time he's representing the Township, and he's asking her questions, he's directly asking questions that's going to damage Tiffany Henyard's ability to be able to defend herself. So that's why you can't do it. Now, even when there is no direct adverseness, a conflict of interest exists if there's a significant risk that the lawyer's ability to consider, recommend, or carry out an appropriate course of action for the client will be materially limited as a result of the lawyer's other responsibilities and interests. Now, this is what we do as attorneys. We say the same thing in 65 different ways because you're taught in law school. Tell the people what they're going to see, show them what they need to see, then tell them what they just saw. So that's all this statute is doing. Now, it was a few other things I had highlighted. I'm going to just read these highlighted portions because this is absolutely too much. Let's see. Where were we at? Personal interest conflicts. The lawyer's own interest should not be permitted to have an adverse effect on representation of a client. And they give an example in this case if the lawyer has something personally that makes the conflict of interest. So in this situation, the conflict of interest isn't by the actions filed against the parties or the parties themselves. It's something related to the attorney. An example is if the lawyer's own conduct in the transaction is a serious question, it may be difficult or impossible for the lawyer to give the client detached advice. Similarly, when a lawyer has discussions concerning possible employment with an opponent of a law firm, blah, 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 we can skip all that. When lawyers representing different clients in the same matter or in a substantially related matter are closely related, this is an interesting one. And I highlighted this one because they got a family rule. They got a family rule and a sex with client rule that we got to talk about. And the sex with client rule is wild because it's different in every state. But I highlighted this just because it was interesting for just conflict of interest. When a lawyer representing different clients in the same matter or in a substantially related matters are closely related by blood or marriage, there may be a significant risk that the client confidences will be revealed and that the lawyer's family relationship will interfere with both loyalty and independent professional judgment. This is where I highlighted this interest of a person paying for a lawyer's services. This just denotes what I discussed earlier. It is legally allowed for a third party to pay the attorney's fees of another person, but not for a municipality or a government township. So I just highlighted that just to point out that. Prohibited representation. All right, this is where we get interested, and I think this is what we talked about initially, that unique scenario that I'm going back to. Law firm A representing both people, they got lawsuits against each other. Some conflicts are non-consentable, meaning that a lawyer involved cannot properly ask for such an agreement or provide representation on the basis of the client's consent. When the lawyer is representing more than one client, the question of consentability must be resolved as to each client. Then it goes down and it says, in some states, substantive law provides that the same lawyer may not represent more than one defendant in a capital case, even with the consent of the clients. And under federal criminal statutes, certain representations by a former government lawyer are prohibited. And normally what that means is if DFD is a U.S. attorney, I prosecuted guy A, B, and C, I end up leaving and I go to Kellogg Cornflake and Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and I get an of counsel position there, and I'm trying to represent these guys a year later, I probably can't do it because most times when you leave a job, you have a required cooling off period where you can't represent any matters. You can't represent anyone in a matter that you had a substantial interest in, and so they normally give you a certain cooling off period. In that scenario, somebody at your firm may can do it, but you can do it. But this is interesting. It says, in addition, decisional law in some states limit the ability of a government client, such as a municipality, to consent to a conflict of interest. So they expressly say that some states expressly say by statute that a municipality can't agree to representation and just agree, hey, I know this is a conflict, but we're going to go ahead and ignore this conflict, sign this waiver, and we want you to represent both us and the other person. So in some states, I didn't look it up because I just, hey, I'm not feeling too great and I didn't want to do too much of a deep dive, but I'm not sure if this is a state, but some states expressly bar municipality or township from even being able to waive a conflict of interest. Conflicts in litigation, we already talked about. It was one more rule. Where is did I highlight it? We're going to talk about it anyway because I just find it funny. I think there's one more document that is actually interesting. Let me cancel that. Let me see if I pulled that up correctly. All right, so this document right here was actually an interesting document. Is the Illinois Rules of Professional Conduct and Municipal Practice. And it was like the top 12 things that municipality attorneys need to know. So they go through and talk about everything. Duties to clients, former clients, tribunals, duties of the profession. There's a section on conflict of interest. So you can Google that. It's actually a pretty interesting document. And I actually will give them credit. It's actually pretty well written. We normally like to write things in a way where you have to hire somebody to interpret it because we just wrote it that way on purpose. But it's actually a pretty good document. We are going to talk about a few conflicts of interest that I think are actually hilarious. How did she get a seat with a criminal background? It just depends. Again, I can't speak because I haven't done a deep dive on it. But certain criminal convictions aren't an absolute bar to holding a position. Like one thing, like nobody cares about. Like a DUI is actually a terrible thing, but there are judges who are sitting on the bench who have DUIs. There's certain things, certain misdemeanors, certain low-level felonies probably aren't going to be anything that's going to actually bar a person from actually running for office. And y'all check out the video I did. I pinned it in the comment. And this is interesting because in the video I did, just pinned in the comment, and I had to talk about it because I'm a DC guy from DC in DC. This dude got caught up in federal bribery charges, and it was the blueprint on how not to try to take a bribe and do something illegal. But he just won his primary. The general election is coming up, I think in November it is, if I'm not mistaken. And he's probably poised to win that general election. So it's going to be interesting. The council is already like, yo, we may have to oust this dude. Typically what they do, if you're charged with a crime, they watch it like, hey, we may launch an internal investigation, which means they aren't going to do anything because the feds are handling it for this guy. But normally they'll kind of sit back. And most people bow out. Most people who sit on the city council in DC, when they get federal charges, they like, you know what? I'm going to bow out gracefully amidst all of this turmoil because I want to make sure I represent I want to make sure the people of my district are represented well. So he might bow out. I don't know. Do I think he's going to bow out is a good question. But, it's just one of those things, people finesse the system all the time. Politicians finesse the system all the time. It is what it is. Yeah. She's a troll crat. That's funny. Yeah. What about the FBI? FBI is doing their thing, and sometimes their things go a little bit slow. Documents to go over, fun content. Yeah, I'm telling you, check out the video on the DC council member who got convicted of a bribe. It was PPP fraud, snitching, needing extra money to pay for your girl's trip. It was anything that you think that would make it funny is funny. And I haven't even done the video on the ANC commissioner from the same ward who had $1.9 million in pandemic funds he finessed that he got convicted of. And apparently he spent $1,800 in beer oil, which is wild, which is wild. If the trustees are witnesses in Tiffany's lawsuit, yo, what's up? Come in. What's up? You need something? Oh, okay. I'll be done in a minute. I'm about to wrap it up. Go ahead, Mikey. Get out. I don't want you in here. Because you're going to be sitting up here and you're going to start barking and interrupting stuff. All right, boo. My daughter, she always comes check on me. All right. If the trustees are witnesses in Tiffany's lawsuit, should her attorney be in the company of the trustees? Generally, no. Okay. I would just say this is real simple. Generally, the answer is no. If you ask me right now, is there a conflict of interest based on the limited information we have? I'm going to say probably it is. It looks like he was there for her interest. If he's representing the township and those matters are intertwined, especially I think someone said in the comment, it's wrongful termination. And if she's the person who is the terminating authority, yeah, you probably leaning in conflict of interestville for sure. But I just wanted to kind of hop on here and talk about everything. Oh, real quick, I forgot. This is an interesting conflict of interest thing, right? When you're a young attorney, this is one of the things in professional responsibility that they always stress. And it's the professional responsibility rule when it comes to intimacy or with clients, right? And so it is weird because it's different in every state. Now, like in states that are mostly kind of southern states, it's like a real hard law. Like, no, you can't have any relationship with your client. Any of that stuff, it's a no-no. If the bar found out about it, it's going to be a problem. You may risk being suspended or losing your license. And so, that's just kind of the general rule. You can't do it. I don't care if it's a criminal trial, civil trial, family court. No. Now, so, DFD come up. I was like, I'm going to head back to the good old district. I come back up to the district and I say, one of the things you need to do is you need to know what are the differences. If I came from state A, now I'm going to state B, and some of the laws and property and criminal law may be different. I need to know what those nuanced differences are so I'm well-versed in my new locality of practice, right? So I get up here and they kind of they give you okay, these are the quick differences in professional ethics from other states that are nuanced to DC. And so it goes to the attorney and whether or not you should with clients, right? Now, in the district, unless they change it, they may have changed it. I haven't looked in maybe the past 9 months or so. But in the district, it's not an ethics violation or a violation of, professional conduct for an attorney to with their client, unless it's a family law case. They say if it's a family law case, bro, that's wild. DC is real liberal. DC, sometimes it may be a situation where you just kind of got a client and you just can't avoid it. But if it's a family law situation, we're not going to condone that. So DC is actually interesting because when I saw that, I was shocked. That shocked me. I was like, wow, in DC, that's crazy. If you represent somebody in a probate matter, like some widow just inherited hundreds of millions of dollars, the attorney can presumably finesse and slide right on in. Can't do that in other states. In DC, they cool with it. But if it's a family law case, divorce, child support, they like, nah, bro, that's wild. We gonna be a little liberal here with the rules, but some things you just gonna have to get somebody else to represent if that's the direction you want to go. So that's always a funny rule to look at depending on where you're at. And the other one that was funny is in some states, only attorneys can be partners in a law firm. So the state I came from, if I started a law firm of DFD and associates, and I got a couple of guys who become, equity partners in the firm, and they pay their buy-in. In some states, only attorneys can be partners in law firms, but in other states like DC, New York, I think Los Angeles may be the same way. I'm not sure, but you can have a non-attorney as like a partner in the law firm. And at first I was like, yo, that don't make any sense. Why would you want a non-attorney partner? But then I thought about it. I was like, oh no, that actually makes perfect sense. Because if I started DFD and Associates, I may be the guy who's the litigation expert. The other attorney may be the guy who's, hey, he's an expert in negotiations, settlements, and jury selection. And the non-attorney guy, he may be an expert in marketing. He may be an expert in human resources. He may be the capital guy who just has all the contacts that the attorneys are using to make it rain. He's establishing all the contacts. So some of the rules get different no matter where you are and where you go. Yep. Hey, yo, I appreciate it. Shout out to everybody in the comments. You got to be stupid if you think you can win against the FBI. They got a 90-some-odd% conviction rate for a reason. And I tell you, like, okay, the winning against the government is difficult because they're very selective about the cases they take. And let's say the U.S. Attorney's Office, they're going to prosecute all the cases. So let's say that, as an example, I'm going to give y'all an example. Okay, an example would be, I'm trying to think of something that's a unique topic. Okay, we're not going to talk about the bribery thing because that's not the greatest example. But an A&C commissioner, I think his name was Rosenthal, if I'm not mistaken. He was convicted of he was actually sentenced to 5 years after being convicted of fraud with regard to $1.9 million in pandemic relief. The U.S. Attorney's Office and the FBI probably aren't investigating pandemic relief. So probably what happened is the Special Inspector General for Pandemic Relief, SIGPER, it's their job. All they do, that's the acronyms, but all they do is investigate PPP fraud. So SIGPER had an attorney and investigators who investigated, and they found some fraud. And after they found the fraud, the attorney there, he wrote up what you call a prosecution memo, where that attorney sit down and say, hey, based on what we found in our investigation, you could charge this A&C commissioner with A, B, C, D, and E. And they'll write up what you can charge them with. They'll write how the facts apply to the charges. They'll write up this memo, and it's a long-ass memo. I wrote hundreds of them. And it's written and broken down beautifully. And then once they draft that memo, they'll go over to the U.S. Attorney's Office and say, hey, we got a case that you can prosecute. Here's the evidence. Here's the investigators if you got questions. And here's the memo that the attorney wrote to explain, hey, this is how you're going to prosecute it with the facts we had. In the U.S. Attorney's Office, they're going to look at it and be like, yo, and I had an instant where I drafted a pros memo and they was like, nah, we don't want to mess with it. And then later on, they was like, oh, we're going to rock with it. So it just depends on what their focus is at that point. If they want to focus on public corruption, they may run with something. If they don't, they may not. Public corruption, they're probably going to run with it. But that's kind of how it goes. So it's not necessarily a win against the FBI. What will happen is that attorney who wrote up that memo will give it to the U.S. attorney. The U.S. attorney will say, yo, we got everything we need. We don't need anything else. That normally doesn't happen. They'll normally look and say, we need a little bit more information to prove this particular charge. And so then they'll work with the investigators who investigated originally. Now they may loop in the FBI or all the other alphabet soup agencies. And that's how you get these task force of Homeland Security, FBI, Postal Inspector General's office, because somebody may be sending something through the mail and maybe some mail and wire fraud or something like that. So that's essentially how these things get taken off the ground. So generally when they take it, it's gift wrap. It's literally, I've had cases where I've written and they declined it because they was like, oh, it's not, nah, we good. We not going to take it. And I'm like, yo, bro, this is like you never want to give a case a percentage, but like, yo, this is an 80-20 case where 80% of the facts are in your favor, 20% of the facts might be in their favor. And they like, nah, we don't want to rock with it unless it's a 90-10 case. And that's why the conviction rate is so damn high. Yep. Let's see. Hey, man, attorneys do it all the time, bro. You just can't do it in the district if it's a family law case. They like, yo, that's wild. You can't be. Y'all don't remember that judge who was. Y'all don't remember that judge. Hey, shout out to him because DFD not blind. She was a very nice looking lady, but y'all don't remember that judge. And I think he was in Michigan. It was a Michigan judge who had a woman in his courtroom and her baby father, and they arguing over child support. And the judge was the cheeks of the lady. And while the case was going on, he was literally texting her like, yo, I could throw this dude in prison for a couple days since he don't want to pay his child support. I was like, yo, this is wild. I was like, that case was absolutely wild, but hey, it happens all the time. Is it that Tiffany has so many lawsuits and corruption coming her way, even with all the recorded footage that is taking so long for indictment? I mean, it's just no rush. There's no rush on it. Excuse me. There's no rush on it. They could, I mean, presumably, if they have grand jury subpoenas, if they have grand jury subpoenas already going out, they've probably been looking at, like, by the time I issue a subpoena, you've probably been looking at somebody for like a year and a half. So is a few things. Is timing, it's the fact that they don't have a rush because all of the conduct, generally, it may be some longer statute of limitations, but normally you're talking 5 years statute of limitations. So nothing is going to spoil. There's going to be no spoilage from the statute of limitations because these allegations against her, you need multiple people involved. So if you're talking about a conspiracy, now you're talking about a tolling of the statute of limitations where they'll pause it and allow you to sweep all this other conduct in so the statute of limitations can be stretched out. So it just depends. It could be strategic. I wouldn't be in a rush. I mean, I'm just be honest. I wouldn't be in a rush. The township needs to take the mechanisms they can to try to. There's a power struggle between the township supervisor and the township board, the mayor, and the council. There's always these struggles, and the board has the ability to exercise their power with votes and kind of pull the reins from the mayor. You see, they didn't vote on the attorney. They was like, nah, we tabling that shit. We not doing it. But they have to be on one accord to do it. So I'm not sure what the reason is for the length, but there's no rush. So they're not going to rush it. If I had to guess, you're either going to see it, because I think the elections are in November. So, I would probably say, I don't know. If it were me, I would probably do it. If the elections are in November, y'all correct me if I'm wrong. Are the elections in November? But if the elections are in November, I would probably do it outside of a 60-day window. That's generally the rule. When, the video linked in the comment, y'all check that out. And also go over to Pocket Watching with JT. We talked about that on his live stream yesterday. But in the video I did where they talking about the DC council member with the bribery charges, they picked him up 75 days, 76 days before the general election occurred. Me, I would want to, if I have the evidence, I would want to do it before the general election because it's just so much more newsworthy. That's like fine cuisine for a prosecutor. You want something that's just so, like, it's cool to be like, oh, a former mayor who recently lost election was indicted on all of these criminal conspiracy charges and fraud. Yeah, that's cool. But when you say, hey, a mayor was charged who's currently sitting, that got a little bit of juice to it. So, if it were me, unilaterally up to me, if I had the evidence, I would probably roll before the election because I seriously doubt if she win this election, everybody deserves exactly what they're getting. Surely the FBI will not overlook Tiffany's case. Don't have to be a rocket scientist to know what she has done. I agree. I agree. Also, why wouldn't the state of Illinois go after her first? It seems like she is connected to folks way more powerful than her. It's just a resource thing. Like I've been at the state level and conducted what is the term? Parallel investigations. So like I'm at a state level doing an investigation on A, and then the feds are doing an investigation on A. And if they come down and say, "Yo, we want y'all to stand down while we do our investigations," I feel like 90% of the time, probably 95% of the time, they like, okay, say less. Let us know if we got any resources we can give you to further your investigation. And then when the press release come out as a joint investigation, I can think of maybe one instance where we were like, nah, we're gonna keep doing that investigation. Because that would be stupid to do. And the reason it would be stupid to do is remember, if you're a state investigative agency, when a person commits a crime, it's normally a state crime and also a federal crime. It's just a matter of who's going to take it. And so, sometimes the state resources may be stretched thin. So I don't have the resources to prosecute this person. I want to give them to the federal government. And so you want to make sure that relationship as the state entity with the federal government is good. So if y'all got parallel investigations of the same person, then the feds say, hey, stand down while we do our thing. You normally going to tell them to stand down because the feds got more resources and they can supplement your investigations and your prosecutions. Yeah, that dude got railroaded. Which dude you talk about? The council member, the ANC commissioner who spent $1,800 in beer products, or both of them? I hope they get her before the next election. I agree. I think that'll be the prime time to do it. The elections are in February. Oh, so they got plenty of time. They got plenty of time. Oh, that'll be. Oh man, yeah. Like I would definitely. It is in February. So you mean normally you don't like to do it within that 60-day window. So you're talking just outside of 60 days, the holidays. Oh, that'll be like that holiday season when you eating turkey and getting gifts. That'll be like the perfect time to break. Yo, as a prosecutor, we like to do our job, but we also like to get some value and entertainment out of it. And nothing says value and entertainment more than like, could you just imagine if she's picked up at one of her many community events at the annual turkey drive? Oh man, that shit'll be. Yo, if it were me, I'm like, yo, elections are in February. Thanks for providing that information. Hey, I appreciate that random advice. If the elections in February, I'm pulling up like at the turkey drive if I got all my ducks in a row. Like I'm gonna make sure all the turkey drive out there because y'all about to see that now. We about to give you the walk of shame. You're gonna have to throw your jacket over your head, and they're gonna tell you to wash your head as they hit your head on the car, then tuck you in. We doing all of that. So yo, February, yeah, it's gonna be some holiday annex for sure. Yeah. For both positions, yo, hey, I'm thinking like Pride of Turkey at without a doubt, she's doing what is it, cooking with Tiffany or grilling with the township. She gonna do some holiday event, and I'm waiting till she broadcasting it. It's gonna be a live stream, and I'm releasing the hounds. I'm like, hey, all right. I like Judge, we want to execute this. I'm getting that PC that are probable cause for that arrest warrant with her, and we're going to get you right where you handing out that Yardbird. That'll be awesome. I talk about the judge that was, oh yeah. That dude was wild. He was wild. Hey, she was very attractive though. I'll be honest, but you got to bow out of that one. Judge Wayne McGreedy or Wayne McCready. I think it was it's all or nothing. Yeah, that judge was wild. The wild part was his inability to understand a person who don't have your best interest was unrecognized because the lady in that case, she ended up like carrying him to court. She carried him before the bar association and actually said he should be disbarred. That's crazy. She had said he should be disbarred because I think he ended up getting her pregnant. Now I'm about to have to look. Sorry, guys, for being late. I agree with you. Jackson, Mississippi council member resigned and pled guilty later that day. You got to walk away. The only reason, like, why would you not walk away? The only reason that you wouldn't walk away is if, like, the only reason I could think, well, why wouldn't I resign? If I'm committing alleged crimes as an elected official, and it's clear that an investigation is going on, why wouldn't I resign? The only way I wouldn't resign is I ain't got no bread. If I ain't got no bread and so I need this check every couple of weeks, that would be the only way. If I could resign and I'm still Gucci, like I'm gonna just go and resign. It is what it is. I'm not worried about the check I got. If I don't have to, if I got the ends, I'm just gonna walk away. If I ain't got no ends, you can't resign. If you resign and then your family gonna be starving, you gonna work. You gonna work the last minute until they come pick you up in the paddy wagon. Oh, that's hilarious. Boss ass Linda. Hopefully she'll be skating. Yo, that'd be dope. Like, I would be sitting back as a prosecutor, like, because she like to plan out these events. Like, I'm like, yo, are we gonna do it at the turkey drive? Are we gonna do it at the annual skating rink event? That'd be actually dope. I would be like, yo, which one of y'all agents know how to skate? And if a couple agents know how to skate, I would literally be like, I want uniform agents there, but I want 2 non-uniform agents there, and I want y'all to just skate up on the target and keep her up. Then when you see the FBI come over, I want y'all to take y'all, because y'all ain't got y'all uniform on. Y'all gonna take y'all credentials out, put it on y'all neck, and just slow skate up to her. I don't know if it's ice skating rink. If this is like a roll bounce type of skating rink, I want them to really be able to skate. If the agents don't know, how to skate, I'm gonna be like, yo, I want y'all to learn how to skate before this skating event, so y'all can just roll right on up and go backwards and look her in her eyes and be like, sorry, man, why your little badge right there? That would be gravy. That's a great idea. Shout out to you. Like, yo, that'll be a great idea. The better the event, the better. That'll be absolutely a Hendra is so below deck, draining the swamp will not help her at all. Yeah, you can't drain the swamp when you are allegedly like the biggest person in the swamp. You wouldn't resign if you're a narcissist. That's facts. I'll tell you. Shout out the ice skating comment. That comment was pure gold. Yeah. Everybody rolling. Man, yeah, you gotta find a self. It's like you gotta find ways to entertain yourself. You know what I mean? While you still effectively do your job. Taking into custody at the ice rink. I'm telling you, like, yeah, I don't even know if the village of I don't know if Dalton or Thornton Township got an ice skating ring, but oh man, God, that would be if that happened. I'm telling y'all, I'm going live immediately on my phone. I don't care what I'm doing. I could be in the tub. I'm gonna be like, you just gonna see my neck with a bunch of bubbles right here. Like, yo, they happened. They did it at the skating ring, bro. That'll be wild. But prosecutors do like to have a little bit of fun. Let me Google something real quick. Since we was talking about conflicts, I want to just make sure I'm right. Let me see if I can find this. Let me see. Michigan. I can't do 2 things there. He was a too. Let me see. Yeah, this is an old story. Old story still around. This dude must with that image. Yeah, this dude. Oh, so he might be back. We go close that out. Let me see. It was this comment. They had one. Tiff named it after her daughter. True story. That would be so awesome. Hey, I don't want to see the downfall of I don't want to see the downfall of brothers and sisters, but I do want to see the downfall of criminals. Okay, criminals don't give a damn. I did a video on somebody on the veneer thing. The lady who this is how I don't understand people in the comments sometimes. I did a video on the bad veneer tech stuff, and in the video I was like, yo, this commercial this lady had was not indicative of a professional. When I'm on here, I'm not using I'm not enunciating every word correctly. Hell, when I'm at work, I'm well versed in the game and I got too much experience. I'm gonna be who I am. But when it comes time to get the work done, your boy gonna come through. They already know what it is. So, but I said something like, "Oh, this commercial wasn't indicative of someone who's a dentist." I'm not getting dentist vibes from here. And they were like, they was like, you should be careful about saying stuff like that. And I was like, yo, why are y'all defending somebody who's committing assault and battery on people through their teeth? Somebody in the comments said their family member got an infection in their tooth and they went to their brain and they died. But I don't know. I don't understand the defending of the criminals. I'm not all into that shit. But there's a question of who actually owns the property where the rink was built. One of the trustees was going. This is crazy, yo. If she got a skating ring. If she got a skating rink and it was paid for by the township, but it's actually in her name, that's wild. That's wild. She called it just. Man, you lying. I don't believe it. I'm not even looking at that. I don't believe it. And her little girl's name is Justice, though. Oh, man. Y'all are cracking me up. And hey, Rico Cochran. Yo. Yo, that's wild. That's crazy. Just ice, and that would be the place that you get arrested at. Oh my God, that would be that is actually crazy. The name of the ice rink is a contradiction in terms to the resident. Tiffany is 40 going on 14. This is hilarious. Just ice. That is so funny. It's true, bro. Hey, I believe you, man. You that capping, yeah? She did use her daughter's name. Well, she is the dream. Oh man, y'all cracking me up. Y'all cracking me up. That's some funny stuff. Real quick, we talking about conflict of interest. So let me just pull this up. This was the dumbest conflict of interest that should have immediately. Let's stop that share. Let's share this one. Let's pull this one up. This is an oldie but goodie. If y'all haven't heard of it, y'all gonna hear of it now. Let me go ahead and cue this up. Ice rink, yeah, the trustees did nothing. That's funny. It really does convert to an ice skating rink in the winter. That is the wildest shit. They have changed the name as soon as she got. Yeah, that's insane. All right, this dude right here. Michigan Supreme Court suspends judge after alleged affair. This is, I know y'all probably like, man, these rules can't be, but the Michigan Supreme Court has suspended Wayne County judge who's accused of having a relationship with a woman whose child support case was pending in court. A court order issued Friday, suspending him without pay effective immediately. It says his pay will be held in escrow until disciplinary proceedings are resolved. But let me back up to see if I can find the woman. What was her name? If I can find an image of her, I'll pop it up. But y'all need to go check out that case. It was actually a prime story of, bro, you could have still, all you had to do was back out of the child support case. But no, he stayed in the child support case and he texted her while he was there. And she was the reason why he ended up getting suspended and losing his ability to practice. I think he ended up getting her pregnant, if I'm not mistaken. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong. He ends up getting her pregnant. His wife, like, nah, I ain't going nowhere. I've been here. We going to figure this out. They tried to, like, cut her a check, purportedly, allegedly, or something like that. And she went to the Bar Association, was like, it was proven that he has poor judgment because of how we got here today. Y'all should suspend his license. With no regard to if his license gets suspended and he don't make any money, he can't pay her any child support. But she's like, nope, suspend it anyway. It was the funniest thing. And it always is, let's see, someone suggested to get a copy of the charter and read it. Oh, man, now y'all about to have me looking into Just Ice. Oh, man, I wish Americans could say my name right. Oh, okay, see, hey, man, I apologize. I know names are important. That's funny. It's Richard, but with an O instead of an R. Okay, I apologize, Richard. Hey, I know now. I appreciate it because, hey, speaking of conflicts of interest, do you check your email often? I would like to send you some information on some Thornton stuff. Yeah, go ahead and is official debtfreedad@gmail.com. I think that's the email address. I got to check it because I don't. Yep, official debtfreedad@gmail.com. You go and shoot it to me there, and I would take a look at it. Yeah. It's an Aussie abbreviation. Oh, okay. That's crazy. The judges do wild stuff. It was a judge who would I used to be in front of a judge, and if an adult went to sleep in the court, he would be like, drug test them. And the deputies were actually like taking these people out, like, oh, you must be high if you fall asleep in my court, drug test them. And if they was in court, then he would hold them in contempt of court for disrupting court, which was unconstitutional as hell. Yeah, all good, brother. You the first one to try. I saw it. I looked at it, and I was like, it was tough. Yeah. Hey, Richie from Tasmania. Shout out to y'all. Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Yeah. She stole that money to build an ice rink from the COVID money. It was infrastructure from the that part. Okay, okay. So she got some pandemic relief money. Now I gotta look into that. Yo, I'm about to jump off here. Your boy already went too long, but I hope this video provided some insight on just, is there a conflict of interest? Short answer is, it looks like it's a conflict of interest, but really to figure it out and get a direct answer, we would have to look at all of those cases, what the actual charges are, who the charges are against. But it's given, is not passing the smell. It smells bad. And if it smells bad, where there's smoke, there's probably definitely fire. Yo, again, shout out to everybody who subscribe, all the new folks who are viewing. I appreciate y'all for rocking with me. If there's content out there y'all want me to talk about, someone actually did send me one. And I don't really like to talk about that type of stuff, but I might, because it's a good legal discussion. But yo, shout out to you all. Y'all make sure y'all check out the collab me and the Pocket Watcher did. Check out the video that I posted in the comments on this one. Y'all be safe. Enjoy y'all Sunday. It's almost football season, and I'm excited about it for once because I think we found a quarterback. If you're watching on replay, check out the content that's going to pop up on the screen. There's going to be more content related to finance and attorney reactions. Yo, y'all be blessed. Be safe. Peace.